So hey guys, very good day to you all. And in today's video, we will be understanding the Doberanus triad. Now guys, before starting with this video, I would like to tell you all one thing that I have already made one video which includes the introduction to the chapter periodic table. Plus it includes unitary method, your Doberanus triads, Newland's law of octaves, Mendeleev's periodic law and its significance, and Cook's homologous series. Now, why I am telling you also? Because if you'll watch that one video, in just one video, you are going to cover all the starting topics of your chapter periodic table. So it is better for you all to access all the small starting topics of the periodic table chapter in just one video. You can find the link of that video in the description box below, or you can simply click on this link over here. So now let's start with the Doberanus triads. So everyone was trying to arrange the elements in a systematic manner. So in this attempt, Dobereiner put forth his concept of Dobereiner's triads. Now let's understand that. In 1817, a German chemist named Dobereiner said that the elements could be arranged in the of three. What is the meaning of this? He said that if you want to arrange the elements in a systematic manner, you can arrange them in a group of three elements. I repeat myself again. He said that if you want to arrange the elements in a systematic manner, you can surely arrange them in a group of three different elements. Okay, now this group of three elements, he named them as Dobereiner's triads. What is the meaning of triads? Triads is nothing but a group of three. So he named them as Dobereiner's triads after his name Dobereiner. Okay, so on the basis of that, he named them as Dobereiner's triad. But the question here is that how to decide which three elements we must take in one group. I hope you understood the question. Whether we should take any random three elements in one group, or is there any rule that we must take only specific three elements in one group. So to answer this question, Dobereiner gave us an example of lithium, sodium and potassium. And as we all know that the atomic mass of lithium is nothing but 7, the atomic mass of sodium is nothing but 23, and the atomic mass of potassium is nothing but 39. And he gave us an explanation why he took lithium, sodium and potassium in one group. Let's understand that explanation. He says that the atomic mass of the middle element is almost equal to the average of atomic mass of other two elements. Now, if I tell you all in simple words, he says that the atomic mass of the middle element, who is the middle element over here? The atomic mass of sodium, which is nothing but 23, is almost equal to the average of atomic mass of lithium and potassium. So when you take the average of atomic mass of lithium and potassium, the answer which you are going to get will be almost equal to the atomic mass of sodium. Now guys, don't worry if you have not understood what I'm trying to say, because you are going to very soon understand when I do the mathematical calculations over here. So suppose if you want to find out the average of atomic mass of lithium and potassium. So if you want to find the average of atomic mass of lithium and potassium, how do we do it? The average mass is equal to nothing but the atomic mass of lithium plus atomic mass of potassium, and here we are going to divide it by 2. Why we are going to divide by 2? Because we are adding the atomic mass of two elements, therefore we have to divide by 2. Guys, this is just a simple average that we are taking the average of atomic mass of lithium and potassium, and I hope you all know how to take the average. Okay, now by taking the average, what I do is 7 plus 39 divided by 2, which gives me 23. Now this answer 23, this 23 is nothing but the atomic mass of sodium. Now try to read this law again. He says that the atomic mass of middle element sodium is almost equal to the average of atomic mass of lithium and potassium, which are nothing but the other two elements. So I hope you have understood what I am trying to tell over here. And if you have not understood still, then for that let us consider one more example. chlorine, bromine, and iodine. As we all know that the atomic mass of chlorine is nothing but 35.5. Atomic mass of bromine is nothing but 80. Atomic mass of iodine is nothing but 127. Now, when we take the average of atomic mass of chlorine and iodine, so let us take the average of atomic mass of chlorine and iodine. So the average of atomic mass of chlorine and iodine is nothing but 35.5 plus 127 divided by 2. Guys, here there is a mistake. Here there should be iodine and not bromine. So the average of atomic mass of chlorine and iodine is nothing but equal to 35.5 plus 127 divided by 2. And when we do this calculation, we get 81.5. And if you'll observe one thing over here, this 81.5 is almost equals to 80. Now you might be saying that you said only equal. No. Read this law carefully. Here it was clearly mentioned that it should be almost equal. He never mentioned that it is exactly equal. It should be almost equal. And this is what we are getting. 81.25 is almost equals to 80. So therefore he formed a group of 3, that is nothing but triads: chlorine, bromine, and iodine. Similarly, he gave us an example of calcium, strontium, and barium. As we all know that the atomic mass of calcium is nothing but 40, the atomic mass of strontium is nothing but 88, and the atomic mass of barium is nothing but 127. So now when we take the atomic mass, average atomic mass of calcium and barium, so you take the average atomic mass of calcium and barium, that is nothing but 40 plus 137 divided by 2, which gives you nothing but 88.5. Now when you compare this 88.5 and 88, these are almost equal. So hence the law was followed and he was able to form a group of 3 different elements. Now, but what was the problem over here is that he was able to form the group of triads for only few elements. As the number increased, that is, as the number of elements went on increasing, it was not able for him to form a triad for all the elements. That is, but this seemed to work only for few elements, and hence the Doberanus triads concept was rejected. Now guys, go check out my channel where I have uploaded chemistry and physics videos. They might be helpful for you all, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more such interesting videos. So whenever I upload a video, you will get a notification of that. Okay, so guys, thank you for watching this video.